Here I am, day number 4. To be honest, I'm a little nervous about today's share. I had to take some time to be with some of the feelings that are coming up for me, whether it be guilt, whether it be shame, whether it be holy moly, I feel vulnerable sharing this very intimate conversations that I had with God, with the universe. But I want to put it here because I really do feel like there are aspects, maybe it's a whole conversation. There are aspects of it that can be very beneficial and helpful to bring a new awareness, a new perspective, a different way of looking at things. And here he goes. I'm gonna sound like and look like I'm reading, which I am, because I don't remember all the details. And as I read, I might just put in my own interpretation and also my own feelings or a little bit backstories about what this conversation is about. So here he goes. So it was the end of last year. I wasn't being at a very happy place in my life and I was kind of figuring things out. I was going through a lot of frustration in my life. So one night I got on my computer and I started typing. I said, let's have a chat with me, Uni. I call universe Uni. And my higher self, let's have a chat. And they said, what would you like to talk about? I said, can I chat about anything? Like even complaining? They say, sure thing, come on. And I say, honestly, I don't know what's there to complain about. I should feel very grateful. I have all the support, things are actually on the outside, should it's fine. I have family here who's helping me with Nyla, but I'm just not happy here. And they're asking, why do you think you're not happy here? I said, I'm not currently living the way I want to. And they asked, well, what kind of life do you want to live? And at first, when I was trying to answer that question, I thought I was focusing a lot on the external side of things. Maybe what I actually want is live in this kind of a house or that kind of place or this kind of environment, live in this kind of thing. But I realized it didn't even feel right. It didn't even feel right. So I dug deeper and go, what kind of life do I really want to live? And I realized the kind of life that I really, really, really want to live is a guilt-free life where I don't care about what other people think. I have no fear when it comes to what they're thinking of me, what they're saying, their opinions about me, about how I live my life, how I choose my life, what the decisions that I make in my life is a fear-free life. Oh, wow. That's very interesting. Because as I'm reading back, this was like just a few months ago, the end of last year, December, and thinking about it now, rereading this conversation now, and having to been through what I went through and clear a lot of shame, I'm just noticing the change. That's very interesting. I'm just noticing, holy moly, I do and am experiencing that now, a lot more now. I won't say 100% complete gone, but a lot more guilt-free, a lot more fear-free now. Anyways, and I want to live through life carelessly in the most fun and exciting way. I want to create in the most fun and exciting way without the fear of having other people's thoughts and opinion in the back of my mind. And I said, I see beautiful things grow in my life, the changes that happen in my life. I feel proud, excited, like there's no more guilt. I live from a place of joy. I live from a place of passion. I'm no longer living for other people's voices or opinions anymore. I'm no longer living for the purpose of needing to please anyone anymore. And I just live freely now. I'm not relying on anyone else. I'm just connected with me now. I feel free and I feel detached. I am appreciating and respecting all lives, including Nyla's life, letting her be her and letting me be me. That's what I said, what I want, how I want to live my life. And then I continue to say, but I'm not sure how to be that version of myself. And when I think about being that version of myself, I'm actually a little bit scared. It feels foreign to me. And I'm being very honest with myself. And I say, I need help. And this is God's response to me. God says, it's okay to feel scared about what feels like unknown to you. And before I continue on, I kind of want to just also mention when I use the word God, it's not, don't think of as a religious figure. I'm not a religious person. I see God as this beautiful energy that is all that is in every single one of us. You're God. I am God. The tree is God. The bugs are God. Everything, everything in this world is God in nature. You know, God is in everything. I see God as a universal, powerful, divine loving force. And that's when I use the God, think of love. Okay, I'm going to continue on. God says, it's okay to feel scared about what feels like unknown to you. You people often expect yourself to feel fearless when it comes to the things that you haven't fully experienced yourself. You do know that whenever you try something new, there will be some form of scariness to it. Not because you have become a victim to it, but because you're getting to know it, the experience itself. Let's take Nyla, for example. Every time she climbs onto a new challenge, by the way, Nyla loves like rock climbing kind of stuff. Okay, I'm going to continue. God says she's scared, but not really. She's being careful. She's observing because she's not familiar with it yet. So she's testing the water. She's testing her limits. She finds that she can do it. Then she takes another step. Then she takes another step and then another. She doesn't jump right in and go, I'm fearless. So I'm going to go all in. Some people choose to do that, and that's who they are. And if that's not who you are, there's a reason to it. It's for you to savor every moment of it. And it's okay to feel what you feel at the moment when you're unsure how that may look like. So, people who don't know how Nyla is, she is a very observant child with anything and anyone new or any new environment. She needs to take a little bit time to get used to it, to warm up to it. Some people may perceive us that's a shy child, but I'm also perceiving it as I'm just observing the whole environment. I'm learning the whole environment. I'm learning about everyone. And then once I learn everything, cool, I'm going to go in and interact with it a little bit and see how it feels. This is my observation with my daughter, Nyla. And I feel like when I was telling God about how I feel scared to be a different version of myself, even though that free version of myself is exactly what I want. But there's always a layer of ourselves, an unconscious part of ourselves that is foreign to the complete free and happy version of ourselves. And that could feel like a death to that part of me that has been operating from the place of fear. And so I was being really honest with myself and with God says, this is my fear. And God says, it's normal to have those fear. Why do you expect yourself to not have fear? So I'm going to continue on. And God says, this is also why the changes you fear to experience with Nyla can be pointless because you know the changes come gradually. Side note, I often have this fear, whether it be conscious or unconscious. It's almost like cultural or conditioned programming that once the kids grow up as teenagers, they don't want to be with parents anymore. And me, as a mom right now who still has a 4-year-old toddler, I still appreciate that relationship where she's still so close to me. She loves me. She wants me. And sometimes there's thoughts of like, oh my God, one day she's not going to want me anymore. One day, like she might just want to rebel and, fight back, talk back, and I lose control or all that stuff. All those fears would, sometimes just flashes into my mind. And so I'm going to continue on. Basically, God is saying, is pointless because as Nyla changes, you change with her too. So God says, just like how you have been observing. Sometimes the changes and growth you see in Nyla may feel like it's instant, and you may just need to take one day to get used to the new changes or the new Nyla that she is now. But you adjust yourself to it, you adapt to it quickly because you know she's different and things are different. And God continued on to say, "You're a really good mother, you know that? But you're refusing to see it this way because you're afraid that if you see yourself this way, that you'll never be a good mother again." You have a certain perception of how being good means, but you're not fully embracing the full and whole spectrum of what being good really means. Good can be bad, and bad can be good. It's not what you think it is. Those times of setting boundaries with Nyla may seem bad to you because you're yelling at her. But at times, it's what she's needing at the moment to get her attention. At times, she's in a loop that she's not even aware of, and nothing else can get her out of that but to yell at her. But the yelling is so much of the fault, it's actually more of the outcome. We're not talking about faults here, but the responsibility to take care of yourself the way you need to be taken care of. It is your responsibility to take care of yourself in a way that when you feel like you need a break and or alone time, that you do need to take that break. It's when you don't take care of yourself that way that you start to accumulate the frustration and thus the yelling. And I feel like God is really helping me at that moment to realize, stop feeling guilty. There's no point. It's about the guilt comes from somewhere. And the more you feel guilty, the more anger or frustrated you become. The more frustrated you become, the more vicious cycle of frustration that can be projected onto the child or the people that you love around you. And I feel like God is really redirecting me back to go, let go of the guilt, let go of this is your fault, and start taking responsibility. Okay, I'm going to continue on. God says, a lot of times you're not fully aware of how much you're actually dealing with right now. You don't think it's a lot because you have been trained to believe that you can take on a lot and you should be able to take on a lot, but a lot is a lot. How long can you take a lot of things for? I says you're actually going through a lot of changes, a lot of unknown, a lot of out of control, a lot of adjustments you need to make within yourself, a lot of not understanding with Nyla. It's also not her fault. Yes, she would very much like to be talked to in a very gentle way, but she also understands. You think she doesn't know she's being difficult at times? She knows she's choosing to make it difficult for you at times, but it's her job to because that's all she knows at this time. That's what it can feel like a big challenge at times for you. And she will understand you as you will start to understand her more as the stages go on and on. You'll find your balance with her, I promise, and with your life too. All is well, beyond well. And I said, but yelling is not good. It's a form of abuse, no? And God asks, what is yelling to you? I said, mad, anger, blame, guilt. I feel like I'm all that to her. I'm doing all of that to her right now, these days, and it's frustrating me. God says, you're not doing all that to her. You're doing all that to you. She's just showing you that you're doing all that to her, but really, it's you with you. She's not taking out anything because she chooses not to. You are, though, because this has been your pattern all year long, all life long, to take on the blame, to take on the guilt, and to take on the shame. It's your fault, you say to yourself often, more often than you think. In fact, you don't even think it. You're just it most of the time now because you don't think it. You're it. You made yourself it. This is why you absorb it fully and completely, no matter what happens. You blame it at yourself as your fault all the time. You don't need to do that anymore because, in fact, no one is really blaming you. Everyone is really just blaming themselves and projecting it onto you. No one is really blaming you at all. In fact, you don't even really exist in their universe at all. They don't really see you. They see themselves through you. You're just an energy container holding the version of themselves that they're blaming over and over again. And you don't need to be that energy anymore for anyone else, including yourself. I thought that was quite profound. And it's a beautiful, beautiful reminder. If you really think about it, the people who may seem like a bully, who are narcissists, who may be very, very difficult to be with, whether we like to admit it or not, most of us would like to blame them for their behavior. But if you really, really look deeper, and I've worked with so many people to see this, the people who are the hardest to be with, they are the hardest with themselves. They are a narcissist with themselves. They bully themselves multiple times. They shame themselves millions and millions of times throughout the day. You will most likely to treat other people the way you treat yourself, whether it be conscious or unconscious. So a lot of times if it seems like other people are putting their shit on you, blaming you, in my case, I often take the blame thinking, did I do something wrong? Because that has been my childhood pattern, even if it's not my fault. But I feel like God is bringing a reminder. No one is really blaming anyone. We're all playing the game of blaming ourselves and just projecting onto everyone else. Okay, gonna continue on. And I said, well, I see that and I understand that, but why can't I let go of it? And God says, what do you need to let go of when it's not even yours to begin with? It's just an experience, my dear. There's nothing to let go of. There's only something to be grateful for each time. You have experienced it. Now it's time to let it go. Let it go as an experience. You don't need it anymore. And as God was saying that, I could feel the fear in my body of letting go of something that was so familiar to me, that has been my pattern, even though consciously I know that doesn't serve me anymore. So God recognized it, and God says, you have fear about it, don't you? Remember, it's okay to have fear about letting go of something that you have been so familiar with for so long and not sure what is the you that is without it. Remember that it's okay. Now go to sleep. We'll continue with this conversation tomorrow. This is, in fact, your conversation with God. And I want to share this with you here because this actually was inspired by the book Conversation with God. Honestly, my intention wasn't trying to have a conversation with God. I really just wanted to chat with higher being. And I think it turned out into a conversation with God. But because of the audiobook that I listened to, Conversation with God, that it opened me up to allow this conversation to be more of a flow for me. And I think it was necessary for me to realize I could really have this kind of conversation. And I want to put this here because I feel like there's so much profound messages in here that we can really all ponder upon about how are we taking on other people's guilt, um, other people's projection, and to take it on as ours when it's not even ours. How do we recognize that to set the boundary and go, oh, wow, this is really your shit and I'm not taking it on anymore? How are we going to practice more and more of fully taking responsibility and stop blaming ourselves? Because what I've learned through reading this again is that a lot of time when we have certain behavior, let's say when I get angry, I let anger get the best of me. And sometimes I yell at Nyla because of that frustration that I've been feeling. And after I yell at Nyla, I just blame myself. I feel guilty about it. And basically, God is saying, stop. There's no point. Start taking responsibility instead. And the responsibility is, how did you get to that frustration? there are times when I felt frustrated and go, you know what? It's okay. I can take on more. It's all right. Let's do it. Like unconsciously, we just feel like it's okay. It's okay. Like all the little stuff, it's okay. But it's not okay during those little things that trigger us, whether it be, oh my God, just too much stimulant, it's too much things going on. I need to, I need to be outside just to be with myself for even 5 minutes. It's to pay attention to those times when I really need a break and to take responsibility to go, here, this is how I take care of myself. So I stop accumulating those frustration and continue those behaviors and patterns that make me feel guilty. And I just feel like there's so much messages here that even I am still learning. I'm still reflecting. And I want to put this here as as a way to encourage you to have your own of conversation with your higher self, with the universe, with God, to have that honest conversation, whether it be about the fear that you have, the guilt that you have, the dreams that you have, that you are afraid that will be judged by other people. Have that conversation with yourself that can turn into a conversation with the universe and the God, and watch how profound this conversation can be. So here it is. I felt nervous, but now I feel okay now after sharing all that. So thank you for listening and thank you for watching. Have a beautiful, beautiful day.